So it's a really nice rubric for, it's a really, really nice box to organize your character around. And I was thinking, I made up a Moorish character, a Sherazad character. That's the name of the god, right? I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
I made up one of those characters, and I gave him he got the benefit of being in that race for all the extra skills. I made him educated, so he had like all these skill slots to start. And he was just like a well set up merchant. He didn't even have like anything else special. He was just a well set up merchant family kind of guy. He owned a business. If you go and you look in the characteristics and stuff, you can own a business, and that gives you a little income. And anyway, so he was all set up. And then I made up, using the magic book, I just made up a little sort of scholarly magic, school, which really wasn't anything special. It was just about little magic, minor stuff, and really focused on literacy and scholarship. The skills were all about, being learned. So if you got up to say like 5 in each of those skills, right, okay, you get this spell or something like that. So it was really, really simple. And it wasn't really power gamey either. It was simple. And I liked that idea. I was like, well, sure, Sherazad is not anti-magic. There's nothing in there about how magic is, looked down upon in that culture. Why not take a nice, relaxed, scholarly, careful, non-ambitious approach to this, and just enjoy being a perfectly civilized Moorish guy who studies magic, as a scholar. And then I was like, this guy's great. I love him. His life's about to be ruined by being a player character. But, but he's so beautifully set up for that ruination, of whatever sort that, this could be a lot of fun. So it seems to me that the first skill I would teach people is here are 1,000 examples in the book, but most of them are very extreme, right? These race orders he's got in the player's book, in the main book, they're all fucking whacked. There's hardly any of them in there. You have to kind of squint to understand, like my character, you can just be a cultist. And it doesn't really mean anything. You'll even get ceremony for free. Right? Fantastic. You get ceremony for free, and at level 5, they'll call you a priest for the required skills. You might not ever become a priest. You can develop other skills. That's fine. And so, just be a nice follower, and, you can get your faith going and get a nice high faith and do ceremony when you feel you need it. And what else do you want? Whatever else your character is, all your other skills and background, that's who you are. So, so you can be just an ordinary religious dude with an interesting background of your own. You can be a wizard who's not one of these crazy race orders, with strange requirements and terrifying things that can happen to you. And if you really do want to become one of those guys, that's the other thing. I mean, the game just lets you play a fucking nut job right out of the gate. I want to play a Dwarven Dune. And you're like, really? Okay. Like, all right then. We have got, 10,000 problems to throw. You are a problem for everybody. All right. This is the day the Dwarven Dune walked in and ruined everyone's lives. That's when we're playing, right?
Right. I was also just thinking in terms of both in terms of the magic system as well as the advancement system. Like, if I were going to run this, like, I would need to kind of see what my players were kind of interested in doing and how long they were interested in playing, because like we found out very quickly that with the magic system, a ceremonial magician, I think has a lot more possibilities at low level
Yeah,
than the channeling magician
it's
does.
true,
And
although it's true that my character was very lucky in terms of fate, or sorry, faith.
uh,
So I
faith.
rolled a really,
Mhm.
I was able to get, I took the trait that allowed me to roll a d6 and I rolled a 5. And I had a free
Mhm.
point of faith for being a cultist. So, I mean, I was starting with a faith of 6, which was already,
Right.
huge.
But
Still,
thinking about your scholarly merchant, I was thinking, a great magic field to explore would be the alchemy.
oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think alchemy. I mean, that would, I think,
The shit
if I
would blow
had a
up. It
group
would
that
blow.
was in,
Do you really want to deal with fizzles and backfires for alchemy? Not every roll. I don't. Right. My character's gonna have no
yeah,
nose and no fingers by the end of the second
yeah.
session.
Well,
Right.
and then you have to kind of go around collecting
Right. Right.
the rare
No,
materials.
you
Although
need to be
for a
set
merchant,
up. Yeah, the character that I made would have some income. I
yeah,
think that it's worth thinking about giving characters a fair chunk of their lifestyle for free. If you've
yeah,
got a
yeah,
villa, okay, I own a villa. Okay, let's not roll my gold and see if I can afford a villa. Screw that. Look at the character
mhm,
traits and say, what do you get? Because you should get a lot. Um,
correct,
the armor and stuff already has weight and penalties, so why bother limiting it through the money? If you're going to play a character, if you're going to play an Erodon, one of the high elf fanatics, then you might as well get your white horse and your plate armor. Okay, go right ahead. Um,
right,
the thing with the thing too with that is, again, first level really fictionally makes very little sense in the game. And for most of
yeah,
these does. Undiscovered is the same way. I just said, all right, everybody be fifth. And somebody said, oh man, I need a couple more points. I said, all right, everybody be sixth. Right? Be sixth. We're just starting at sixth level. Everything else is the same ages,
yeah,
everything, but be sixth level, because it's really the start of when characters have some oomph behind a few things. And there's just no point in doing otherwise in that game, unless, as I said, I think in the video, unless you want to be teen fic exactly and only. And I don't want to play teen fic
right,
every fucking time, right? And it doesn't make any
right,
sense with Darkurthe. Look at those characters. You pick 3 or 4 character traits, you've got somebody who's not a teenager.
right.
Right. I mean, so you need some. I mean, I would say fourth level is I mean, if I'm not mistaken, fourth level is a nice solid start. Now
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
game, fourth level doesn't mean much because level only applies to the competency. What do I mean by that?
Yeah, I guess you would give them a certain number of points,
Skill
right?
points.
You
You would
could like
basically say,
say,
all right,
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and then they could decide how they wanted
Yeah.
to allot
Either
those
experience
points.
points or skill points, depending, on
Yeah,
how you wanted to do it, and say, look, just go ahead and apply those. Because you need a sprinkling of ones and a couple 4s and 5s, I think, to start off feeling like your
yeah,
character can put an impact into stuff. And
right.
that way, I mean, a person who was in Magic they'd have to short some things. They'd have to kind of make a tight pyramid to get right up into, so they would get a few 17s more reliable, a few 17s or 18s on their rolls. Um, and another thing too is to really focus on the bonuses, because the game actually is fairly coherent about what sort of things will give you bonuses. I mean, one thing I did for my ceremony was I just maxed out. I mean, I said, all right, I need a morning for this. I didn't try and throw ceremony in the middle of a combat.
Right.
And that helped. And it helped that I had a living God standing next to me, and all that kind of stuff. um, but I really, really thought that there's so much more room if we kept playing. What is life like for Pixie when she's not on the road, right? What's it like when she comes to a temple of Pox and
Mhm.
it's in a city. I mean, and it's back there in Ilwraith. It is in cultivated lands, you know, organized society, commerce. I mean, we're not in adventuring territory. We're in, you know, a peaceful living space of the people who consider themselves to be the up and coming empire. So, what's it like there for her? And so, you know, what's that like? And I really was interested because one thing the game doesn't do at all, I mean, the text doesn't do even a little, is talk about interacting with NPCs and relationships.
Right.
And yet the game is screaming for them. You make up a character
Right.
and you're like, I can easily imagine 4 to 12 characters that this person knows.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's part of their lifestyle. I mean, it's just there, sitting there. Um,
Right.
and so,
Yeah. Well.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, comparing it to Legendary Lies, I mean, I think part of the real magic of Legendary Lies, which the rule book doesn't really stress all that
Oh,
much, but
my
it's those
God,
life
how can
paths
the life
charts,
paths are
right?
so
The life,
awesome? Yeah. No, I
yeah,
agree. I mean,
yeah,
the
but
way that the way
those,
that they pop right
yeah,
into a and then write your character goal, and you're like, well, duh, you know
right, right,
that
right, right,
it's easy. And so I completely agree. And Darker seems like, okay, I don't know, but if the game master and author, the people who played Dark Earth during its development, if they came up with lots and lots of concerned non-player characters, and I don't mean adventure hooks and stuff like that. I just mean people that your character knows and who have opinions. I wouldn't
hmm
be surprised if they did that. Maybe they didn't. You know, maybe I'm just being optimistic, but it seems as though the characters are strong enough that you would not just create an adventuring party who goes off on a quest. It seems strong enough that you have, you know, proactivity and relationships and stuff to do as a player character. But the game is really nice about that by throwing you these curves, and then you're able, if you've been playing with a good will, you can actually work with it.
right,
Um, it's subject to, you know, interpretation. I mean, what happens when and if ever, not saying, but when in the aftermath of some traumatic or triumphant event that, you know, Pixie and Hanu sleep together, and Hanu is completely like traumatized. He was not looking to have his goddess do that,
hmm
right? Or, you know, a goddess do that.
right,
And so, you know, whatever, is that a disaster? Does it set up for, you know, hubris for the next round of what the two of them get up to?
right,
You know, I mean, who knows? And so that kind of thing, the fact that the game actually lent itself quite easily to, my God, you could be role playing in zones here of character play that you don't really get in other fantasy games much. Or if you do, it forces it. I mean, how would you do that in RuneQuest? You'd have to sort of force it from, you know, from the fiction alone. You'd have to make it happen. And here you have bounces that allow, you know, interesting things like that to happen. The very fact that I had interpreted fizzles all the way along as being, or you know, whatever it was,
hmm
like misdirected spells and fizzles, that Hanu had been interpreting them all along as exactly what the goddess wanted. Um, you know, is a wonderful setup for the day when he can't sustain that kind of illusion.